Okay, welcome back. We are still in our week 3 foundation material in the Life, Let It Flow Effortlessly book. And I left off right at the end of the life process. Just to recap, the life process is 3 steps: believe, decide, and act. And as we were ending it up with acting, I just felt like it was a good breaking point for you. I know we went through quite a lot of material, to be able to try to, get you kind of on the right framing. A lot of this is, like I mentioned before, is underground foundation work that helps you to be able to prepare. And there's a great analogy on bamboo and how it grows. There's so much that goes on down below, and you have to water it again and again for like 5 years before finally that little sprout starts coming up. And then in a very, very short amount of time, it'll grow 60 feet. So just give yourself some grace and some patience, because there's a lot of these things here that when we're looking at how those beliefs got put into us, the fact that we haven't really decided. I mean, many times when we ask people what it is they want, they're like, well, I don't know. So if you don't know what you want, you can't decide where you're going to go or what you're going to do, because you haven't really done that preparation work, right? So give yourself some grace. And then what I was mentioning at the very ending of ACT, really looking at it like you don't have to come to this all on your own. You can, it doesn't have to be experience. You don't have to have the firsthand experience. You can gain knowledge through other people's experience, right? And be able to have that transferred from wisdom from, a mentor, or, going through a class or learning about things. You can actually borrow those, kinds of educational pieces that other people have been through, right, until you did. So knowledge plus experience gives you great wisdom. Wisdom in action assures your success. The great shortcut is not to rely only on your own knowledge, right? Because knowledge plus experience is what's going to give you wisdom, right? Well, you can rely on other people's knowledge, right? Or learn from other people's stories. I love to watch stories about other people's success, because in that, I can gain their understanding, or learn from their perspective, something that just kind of anchors in maybe something that I've been through, something that I haven't really captured yet, and then they can bring it home for me. So you can borrow wisdom from coaches, consultants, experts, other leaders, mentors, speakers to accelerate your progress. So think about that. That is a shortcut, is to work with others, collaborate, connect with people, utilize your community. Books like this one lift you to succeed on top of my experience. That's why I'm sharing the experiences I've had, not to talk about myself or to share my stories. It's to give you examples so you can see within my life that maybe you can see faster in yours, or maybe you could just take what I'm telling you for fact and true and go ahead and put it to work. Like knowledge, my knowledge, your knowledge together, plus your experiences, right? Then it's going to give you wisdom. Wisdom's going to drive your direction and help you to make better navigated choices, right? And that kind of thing. So, so that's where I wanted to make sure that we can really kind of slow down a minute and talk about that. That was at the end of the ACT section. Take action with what you know and gain experience to increase wisdom, and your life will change. Remember the balloon. This will stretch you beyond where you were and where you will be forever transformed. So when you're blowing up, a balloon, it's expanding. And then when that expands, it never can go back and contract back into that same shape that it was before. It's always going to be a little bit stretched out. That's what we're really talking about, is expanding your abilities. So there's some different questions there at the end of ACT. So on page 58, basically, is going to start the embrace change and uncertainty, and that's where we're going to focus in on a few pages here, just a little bit of extra that I didn't feel like I could get in that time frame with the other recording there. So embrace change and uncertainty, and this is a tough one because change is everywhere. It's the only thing we really are certain of is change, right? So let's look at how we can think about change in a different way. I share an experience where I was rock climbing, and this lady had helped us. She was training a team of mine. It was an executive team. We were bringing a new business opportunity together, and it was we were looking to get some funding, and so we were trying to really do it as a team building for our executive team to come together to learn how to support each other. So we were at the rock gym. I'm not a climbing person. I've had some, fear of heights over the time. And so it wasn't really something that I was really on board with being brave about, but I knew that it would help us to be able to do a good team exercise. And of course there's ropes and it was safe, that kind of thing, right? But what had happened to me at the time, there's been times in my life where I've been more fit, but, in other times I've always been concerned about, things holding my weight and things like that. And this was one of those times where I was thinking, I'm not sure the ropes are going to hold my weight. And so I was really a little bit afraid of that. Like if I fell, I had a harness on and I had ropes holding and there was someone belaying me, but wasn't sure that that was actually going to hold me. And I hadn't tested it yet, right? Because you're just climbing up and you haven't fallen yet. And so the whole point is don't fall, right? But not so, because the learning didn't come from not falling. My learning came from falling. And what happened was when I lost my footing and I actually fell, I felt the ropes tighten and the harness catch me, and I was able to just lay there, sort of suspended on that wall, get my feet back, get my hands back on something and try to stabilize myself. And then I went ahead, at that point I was so afraid, and then I just went ahead and walked down the wall as they gave me more and more slack. And as I got down to the bottom of it, I felt kind of defeated because now I knew the ropes would hold me. And now I knew that the process of getting up there, I had just gotten myself to a point where I paralyzed and was thinking all I could think of was falling. And so what did I do? I created falling, right? And so then what happened when I got down to the bottom is, even though my legs were weak because I was so afraid, I stood up and I said, hey, look, I don't want to unhook. I want to try it again. And so then I went back up and I was able to work my way back. I seen the path that I'd been on and I got right to that same point again. And instead of stopping and being afraid, I just kept shifting my weight back and forth just to keep some movement going, because I noticed that last time that I had been there, when I stopped, paralyzed like a frozen cat, and it was horrible. And so I just kept shifting my weight. That was enough movement that it allowed me to go through that spot and get on up to the next holds that were a little bit bigger, a little more stable. And that one little place that I fell, I made it through that and was able to go right to the top and ring the bell. And so what I found in myself was that as long as I'm moving, even sideways was a good move for me in the middle of a stressful, fearful process. So it helped me as a leader to understand that if I'm up against something, as long as I'm looking at doing something to keep my mind moving, keep my activity going, seeming like we're going in some way, progressing, even if it was a sideways move, it was still going to help me continue. But if I stopped, and I ended up getting paralyzed and I had all of that, fear of what if beating down on me, then I was basically paralyzed to the point where I couldn't even function. So the reason I share that is, keep climbing. That's what this section's all about. How often do we worry about something 2 or 3 steps beyond where we are now, right? It's the what if syndrome that stops us from progressing. You might find yourself there now, even in this particular process, right? Tackling how you perceive yourself, your life, your future is not a small task. It's exciting to think about finally going for what you really want. But there will be moments of doubt and even fear once you make that progress. So it's about being able to get yourself out of that situation. Just understanding what it was that paralyzed me, right? It was the unknowingness of whether or not that I was going to have safety. So sometimes we don't have safety in our life, and it's hard for us to go for freedom or unknown if we don't have the safety in our life. So that's just something to kind of see where you're at, how you're wired, if that's going to be something that's going to hold you back. Let's see here. Let's see. Some time ago, I learned that fear and excitement are the exact same emotions. So that's a really key piece. Like, as a kid, I was excited about going to amusement parks, and as an adult, I'm more fearful of it. So the same situation, the same kinds of roller coasters, now they're not exciting, right? So fear and excitement are the same emotion, but how I label them can have me either be going forward, enjoying it, or have me be paralyzed and have me be defeated and pull back. So you can use your mind to help you to create some positive experiences that can move you ahead if you're willing to go through that, so you can make sure that it won't be a paralyzing situation to hold you back. Let's see here. How do you overcome your unlimited thinking? That's a good thing, to be able to work it out now so that you can actually have it unlock you in the future. And then I just ask you to list your fears that you have, because basically what we want to do is we want to get them written down so we can see them and then validate. Are these true? You know, a lot of times we're telling ourselves false things that aren't really true. False evidence appearing real. That's what fear can stand for. So if you can get them down on paper, then you can work on getting the emotion out of it and being able to see what's factual, and then make sure that you're not fueling that emotion that's going to cause more paralyzing fear. Right? Thinking about it ahead of time, I can create a course of action and figure out what I might do if that comes up. Now I have a solution. It's the not having a solution, not having thought it through, not seeing it through the end that actually makes it feel unknown and worrisome. So then when it comes up, then it basically has us to go into the I don't know. And I don't know is not a great place to be powerful, right? Well, change is constant, right? That's what I was mentioning here a minute ago. Change is constant in our world. It's always changing. In fact, the only constant is change. Like, we know for sure that only thing's going to be happening again is going to be change, right? Whether you're pursuing like you are now or it's happening around you, change is just a part of living. Just listen to the stories from our elders as they comment on the price of bread or how their world was different with no television. You don't need to be a scientist to see the cycles of change as we mature, right? And so everything is in this constant state of flux. So the better that we can understand that, take that as fact and deal with it, not try to be pushed away, then that's going to give us some power back. Some changes are so subtle, we don't really notice them until we stop and take notice. Other changes are dramatic. So why resist change, right? It's human nature to resist and fear change, the unknown. That's really the key, is when we don't know what we don't know, right? Let's see, we may not even be able to receive the gift of change for better. So there could be changes that are coming to you and you're not ready to receive them, again, because they're coming in an unknown way. So you might resist change just because it's different, right? We paralyze ourselves, we cause collisions and turn our lives upside down because in reality we are growing and there is momentum in continuing to climb. Each new step, each change, when taken with purpose, will bring wonderful, positive new things into our lives. We have to create the interpretation that allows us to embrace change in our lives and not fear it. So Zig Ziglar's the one that talks about fear is nothing more than false evidence appearing real. We tell ourselves stories, we keep ourselves trapped. I mean, again, a lot of times, you know, as you're looking at this crab theory, you're the worst one. And so as we can understand and identify that, then we can watch out for how we take ourselves out. There are times it's key to be decisive. You need to decide exactly where you want to go as you focus on taking steps towards success. Stick to your decision to help push through the fears as they come up along the journey. Remember, this is all about what you really want, not just covering your bills, not just taking what you can get. This is much more important than that. So this is helping you to actually create time and money freedom, right? Being able to do that. And there's some more questioning there in the journals. And then just even, I like this analogy because it helps you to see a visual. Think of driving down the freeway. You know, where do you focus? Not on the rear view mirror or looking over your shoulder. You don't focus too far down the road or in front of you either, right? You're not looking way ahead, like worrying about the future too much, right? You're just focusing on what's right there in front of your vehicle. Now think about the path that you're on right now. What's right in front of you? Do you even know where this current path is leading you? And that's really the key thing where we were talking about, you know, sometimes we have to take a moment and sort of step back and be able to take another assessment and see, you know, what path are we on? Is this the correct direction? Do we like where we're headed? Do we want more of what we're actually creating? So you can be able to see that landscape. The key thing is as you're starting to get to be able to put this process, believe, decide, and act, put it into action. You'll start noticing that you didn't realize you had beliefs that are lies in your head, and you've been decided on those, never challenging them, never checking them, and you're putting actions on them that are actually creating more of the same that you don't want. And so it's easy to look at it on both sides. I can check my beliefs to see that they're actually not lies, that they're true, and that I actually want to keep those beliefs in place. I can also look at my actions and come backwards and see, well, hey, here's how my actions are. Watch my words. Listen to, you know, what I say, especially when you're not paying attention to it. Like, what do you say to others? And are you somebody that's, you know, promoting positive things or kind of negatively always finding the the devil's advocate or the, you know, the Chicken Little, sky is falling, like, okay, these things are possibly going to hurt us. If you're always coming from a side of gloom and doom, you're going to create more of that kind of negativity. And if those are the actions and words you're using, then probably your belief is something in a scarcity mentality. So think about those things, and we'll continue on. That puts us up through page 62. So the next section will be create real value. We'll see you then.